I'm Dr. Willie Jolley, and
this is me,
Dee Taylor-Jolley, my beautiful, brilliant bride of over 36 years. We're the authors of the book, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, 10 Secrets to Shape a Great Marriage. And this is the show, Make Love, Make Money, Make It Last, the broadcast. And so we are welcoming each and every one of you. We want to encourage you to share this, to subscribe to it, to like it, to comment, and to forward it. We want to get the algorithms on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on every kind of Twitter. We want all the algorithms blowing up. We want people around the world saying, what is happening over there with those jollies? So we want to welcome
and
everyone.
send in your questions.
Yeah, well, we want to get to that. We'll get to that. Send in your questions in a little while. Right now, we just are grateful for each and every one of you who has shared this with your friends and your family members. We want to thank you for all of you who have shared it and told others about it and said, you got to listen on Monday nights, 9 o'clock. They come on and they tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we're going to do it again today. We got a special show for you today, a special show about some of the questions that you asking us. You've been asking us over and over again. Certain things have come up from different people, different places. There are certain topics that have come up over and over again. And so we want to address those topics and speak to people about the issues that they want to talk to. And we encourage you, as my wife just said, send your questions, send your points of interest to us at info@williejolly.com. info@williejolly.com, and we'll try and address them. We want to give some shout outs. Linda Kazera and her husband were at the National Speakers Association convention in Vegas. We saw them there, home in West Virginia for the week. Woohoo! Kathy McMillan is here with us, and we're glad about that. We got some folks who are joining us on Instagram Live, and so welcome for everybody there to join us there. Join us wherever you can. Now, we want to let you know that you can get the book. Many people kept asking, where can you get the book? Where can you get the book? You get the book at jollymarriage.com, jollymarriage.com. We recommend you get the bundle. You get the bundle, which is 2 books, 2 workbooks, audiobook, and a seminar, CD or seminar. The 2 books, if each person can read, y'all can read together rather than one read it and then the other one. No, we wanted momentum to keep going so you can grow together. And then the workbook, so you can work through the processes and the points of interest and the points that will help you grow your relationship. So the bundle at jollymarriage.com. We want to give a shout out to our friends from Orlando who we were with last week. Eric and Dr. Sakisha Highland, who had us on their show, and it was great. We were really grateful for them having us on their show. It was they had a week-long marriage event online, virtual.
Marriage can win.
Marriage can win. So bravo to them. And y'all check out Marriage Can Win. I think you'll get some of the points that we talked about. Sherry Elliott has joined us. Thank you so much. And we got people joining us this evening. Now let's talk about the points of interest. Many of you wanted to have a follow-up conversation about what we talked about last week, which was what happens when you have different levels of ambition in a relationship.
And it adversely affects your sex life.
And it inhibits, adversely impacts, hurts, messes up the romance.
And we said, what conclusion did we come to? That probably your sex is impacted, your intimacy is impacted because you're dealing with respect or lack thereof. That part was the lack thereof. I heard that. That was the part I wanted. That one of the people who reached out to us said she had lost respect for her husband because he wasn't ambitious enough. Wow. But it wasn't just one person. There were several people. And they all happened to be women.
Yeah, they did. All were women.
What is that about?
What What is that about? Wow, wow, wow. Look, so let's talk about what do you do when you are trying to get, so we want to give you some tips. Some of the tips that we have found with how do you get your marriage really going again when there are those challenges. So let's talk about it. Dee, you got, and this is a touchy subject.
Robert.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Rob. We got Rob joining us. We got Sherry joining us, Kathleen, Linda. We got folks over on Instagram. Let's talk about some of the things we're talking about.
Okay, so here's the question that was prompted by the issue of the lack of respect because the spouse was not ambitious. And I say the spouse was not ambitious as opposed to just the man, but that was actually the case. It was very, very specific. So I did some research, and the question that came up that prompted this research was, what do you do when your spouse doesn't support your career dreams and goals or your success? What do you do when your spouse doesn't support your career dreams and goals?
And so let's give them a little bit of context.
Okay.
Two things. One is I'm going to talk about our relationship from my perspective concerning her, and then her relationship with me because I'm an entrepreneur. First of all, when we got married, I was a musician, and she has no interest in music whatsoever.
That was a culture shock.
I mean, she didn't even buy records when she was growing up. She didn't listen to the radio. She listened to talk radio growing up.
I listened to talk radio.
What?
As I cleaned the bedrooms and changed the linen. At
What? You know, no Motown.
Filled with information. Talk radio.
So when I come
have any people who like talk radio?
So when I come into this
get
picture,
a PhD with talk radio.
Yeah. So look,
and now you got podcasts.
Which she listens to all the time.
It's wonderful.
So I come into the world with this love of music and entertainment and jazz and pop and R&B. Well, she still wasn't really into it, but she did at least humor me.
I was into you.
Yes.
So because I was into you, I was patient with, okay, let me figure out what is this that he's so excited about this music. So I participated with you.
Yes.
I went to the concerts or the programs you had, and I sat in the back of the room, or I was behind stage. I still didn't get the enthusiasm. You have a love of it, but I went along with it because I loved you.
So then I started this speaking enterprise as a solopreneur in my spare bedroom in my house 30 years ago, and it was going great. Hey, Brian Heathman, he's a great guy. Anyway, I'm gonna keep on focus because I got all these friends on. And she was working for first for a law firm, then she worked on Capitol Hill. So then the business started really growing, and I needed help. So I had to then sell her.
No, but you hired a salesperson.
I had a salesperson. That was a disaster. And so this lady couldn't sell her way out of a paper bag. So finally, I had to talk her into coming to work with me. And one of the pieces in the book, really powerful piece that goes along this, is that selling is good for business and marriage. When I started in business, I learned it was important to sell my ideas, products, and services to potential clients. Since I've been married, I've learned that successfully married couples are able to sell their ideas to their spouses. When we first got married, I had to sell Dee on taking a vacation. Remember that? Sounds strange, but her parents always worked.
My parents worked all the time. They never took a vacation, so therefore taking a vacation was really sin. What? You're not working? That's a problem.
Her parents owned a grocery store. They worked Monday through Saturday. Then he was a pastor, and she was the first lady and the head deaconess of the church. They were busy every Sunday, and they loved what they did, though. They loved what they did.
So why take a vacation?
And they never took vacation. When Dee and I got married, she was not interested in taking vacations either. And then finally, I was able to sell her on it. On the other hand, I came from a line of entrepreneurs.
And we traveled a lot. So we did this. I had to sell her on taking a vacation. Then I had to sell her on becoming an entrepreneur. But when she left her parents, they'd never take a vacation. She said, I'm going to give me a good job with the government or with somebody or teaching school, and I'm good. And then I can just do it. Well, I needed her to be an entrepreneur. She said, oh, no, not an entrepreneur, no. So what I had to do was sell her on my vision. Now, how did I do it? I would get books like The Magic of Thinking Big, or I get Think and Grow Rich, or oh, by the way, we give Think and Grow Rich. If you go to wjwow.com, wjwow.com, we give away a digital copy of Think and Grow Rich to try and encourage people. But anyway, Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big. Well, I'd give her a book and I'd say, Reverend, say, you need this. Listen carefully, folks. Listen carefully. I said, I just read this book. I thought it was great, but I like your opinion.
So he stroked my ego.
Same with audios. I heard this audio, the greatest secret in the world.
Greatest salesman in the world.
And the greatest salesman. I want your opinion on it. And little by little, her thinking changed. And so I was selling her.
So you stroked my ego. So you sold me. You're always selling. And I think marketing. Marketing. Say marketing comes before selling.
Yeah.
And then you were always stroking my ego and saying that you valued my opinion. You value what I thought, which is, I think, something that is often missing when couples have challenges in terms of career goals and all these other things. So let's get it.
Oh, there's one more point I want to make about keeping your word. This is very important. When I was able to get her to come work with me, and she was concerned about health care. That was her
health insurance.
Health insurance. And I made her a promise. I said, I promise you, if you come work with me, I will make sure that the health insurance is taken care of every month. She had great health insurance on Capitol Hill. And I kept my word. Folks, this is a critical part of marriage. You got to keep your word. Once the trust, and what my guest on my XM show this week is talks about trust. He's an expert in trust, David Horsager, and he's a trust guy. Well, we talked about in the interview how powerful trust is in business and in life. And that when you say, I'm going to do it, you got to do it. You got to deliver. You got to do
whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. No excuses.
Okay.
Because then you lose their trust and things start to fall apart. Okay. Let's talk about it. Now, the next one is, what do you do when your spouse doesn't support your career or success? And we got 7 points that Dee used, that she used in our marriage.
Well, actually, I did that. And I did some background research too. And I actually went to Psychology Today to look through magazines and the like to see what position it took on what I was already thinking and what I was already doing. I didn't necessarily agree with everything, but here we go. There's a book called Lean In.
Lean In.
And Lean In was done several years ago by
Sheryl Sandberg.
Sheryl Sandberg.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did she work with Facebook or one of those companies like that? Very, very successful, but she's got a lot of money. She got made, all sorts of stuff. She said in the book Lean In, one of the most critical decisions that for a woman that impacts her career is her choice of a partner. So I don't really see that being any different than a man choosing a woman.
Very important. The partner
what you said, who you marry is 95% of your joy or your misery.
That's right.
The second decision after your faith, after you decide to accept Jesus Christ.
Right.
Okay,
right.
So choosing the right partner is either going to help or hurt your career.
Right.
Whether you really.
Brian said she was with Facebook. Correct.
Oh yes, thank you.
Right.
So the success you can control, but your partner can make it easier or harder for you. And then the research also shows that women who have children and careers are more adversely impacted by their mates because they need their mates to be even more supportive because they got careers and they have children.
All right.
And fairly or unfairly, women take on more of the caregiving role. And so by their nature, they're more nurturing, like
I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna push back.
They
because my son and I are very close. I nurtured him. almost just as much. You may have breastfed him, but I nurtured him, and that's why we're so close today, 35 years later, because we got that kind of bond that was. So I'm gonna give you. See, we don't always agree on everything, but we don't argue. This is the big one. They want to make sure y'all understand it.
But I took the baby back and forth to school.
You did. All right, we've been married 36 years, haven't had an argument in 33 years. That doesn't mean that we always agree, but we learned the principles, which we put in the book, that helped us to get past arguing, to get to amicably disagreeing, without arguing, without hollering, without screaming. Okay.
So I think the key is to have conversations. It goes back to the communication.
Communication.
Thing. Now,
can I stop here for a second? Because somebody might be new, who's never been here. We say that marriages break up for one of three reasons. One of three reasons: sex, money, or communication, or lack thereof. So
communication is that common thread.
It's the common thread. You get good communication, you have better love life. Good communication, you have better money life. And it's about communication. And again, I'm beating this drum, keep your word. Because when you keep your word in whatever you say, then it creates a bond that it gets stronger. It's like what's the thing you talk about? The three threads, two threads, one thread by itself can be strong, two together, but when
one thread easily broken, two threads stronger, but it's
a twining.
The rope.
The rope with the three. That's where it's stronger, and you got
me and God, and you weave that thing together, and it's super strong.
Come on, she's preaching now. I got that. Okay.
So also a senior researcher from the Early Education Initiative at a company called New America Foundation says that what is discussing? Discussing is communication. That discussing your ongoing aspirations in your careers as well as your personal life has a tremendous impact on how you grow and change together, because we're always growing and changing. Just like my goals for what I want to do with my career changing now. The key is that we are constantly talking about what we're thinking and feeling and where we want to go. And what you want is for your spouse to go with you, especially when you have children and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. You want everybody to go together, because it's very, very frustrating. There is what's that word? They talk about balance. I have always said, I don't believe there's any balance. You just deal with whatever comes up at the time.
Let me read another part. I sold D on many points, but D sells as well. When we first got married, I was not very neat. She is super neat. Some would call her a neat freak. She likes to have everything orderly and in place. So rather than nag me to clean up, she sold me on keeping things neat and how much easier my life would be if I had things organized. Plus, she rewarded me for my efforts. I really liked the reward. And I was sold. From that day on, I have been neat. I make up the bed. I used to say, why wake up the bed? I'm going to get it again tonight. But she sold me. She hooked a brother up. Come on, somebody. Look, sex sells. I'm getting ready to start hollering. Sex works. It works.
For you, dear.
It works for me. It works.
And then sometimes other things work for people. It might be food. We don't know.
We don't know what it is. But you know what? This again goes back to knowing your spouse, learning your spouse. And
so if you're not talking to each other,
how are you going to know?
In a meaningful way
and listening.
This is how I feel. Tell me about this and listen.
Yeah. So let's go through some of your points.
So you think, why might your spouse push back or not be really inclined to your building your career and growing and getting more education? Here are a couple of things for you to think about. Your spouse might have different values. They might not be interested in constantly wanting more because you're not ever satisfied. That's what they might think.
That's what they might think. Again, that's communication. And you selling them on why this would be of value to everybody and how it's again
so
selling.
What do you say when they say, well, you're never satisfied with anything that I do?
Because I want to make you happy.
Well, I'm already happy just being exactly where I am.
But you want also to have a retirement. You want some of the things for the kids. You want to send them to the best schools. I got to be humble.
I got to be working.
So you have to constantly sell
and communicate
while going forward and while working on building.
And you know what? Sometimes people do. They say, "Well, can't you see that I'm working? Can't you see what I'm doing?" Without telling them, they
might not understand.
They expect you to be a mind reader, and that is a problem we talk about in the book. You did not marry a mind reader. You have to explain and share and give maybe antidotes or ideas or illustrations. Okay, next.
Okay, your spouse might not be interested because it might upset your regular household routine. Maybe if you take a different job or decide to go back to school and do these other things, your regular routine of who takes the kids where, it just upset. Maybe you can't, dinner isn't the same anymore.
That's right.
And maybe that's upsetting. Mm-hmm. So you got to work through that. Okay, and maybe your spouse, your spouse might have fears. They might be afraid that, oh my God, you're going to make more money, significantly more money than me, and then how are you going to feel about me? So it can come down to self-esteem.
Self-esteem or fears about, will there be a problem because you're making more money? I told Dee. Make more money. Go ahead. She's into financial investing now. She investing. I said, go ahead, go invest. Be the next Warren Buffett. I can live with that. I can live with that.
Because he goes with me all the way, right? So I make more money. He makes more money.
Hello, we in this together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Come on, somebody. Go ahead.
And then sometimes there's fear because you're taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
I don't quite know how this is going to work out.
Now, I got to say, my wife has always supported me when I took a leap of faith. I'm always on the high wire.
But that doesn't mean I'm not terrified. It's like, oh my God, what are we doing? I had to
quit my job.
Learn how to build the plane as we were flying it. And I wasn't sure that he actually knew where he was going. But I made up my mind that if I was with him in a plane or in a boat, it wasn't going to sink because I was in it.
Amen. So when I said I'm going to quit my job with the school system, become a full-time speaker, she said, let's do it. When I took the money from our savings to go to the Speakers Association convention, she supported me. It was the greatest decision. When I said
we talked about it. Yeah. I don't want to think we did not talk about it. What? You're going to go to this place
I did not say I'm taking the money. I said, here's the problem. There's this big speakers association where they teach people how to become successful speakers. I need to go. It's next weekend. It's in Orlando, and I don't have registration. She said,
but he had a plan. He had a plan.
But you don't want to recommend it. I got to play, but you don't want to recommend it. Tap the money that we've been saving.
So when we were talking about on the financial side, you always have to have some money saved. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Now, when your spouse is not on board, how do you get them on board? That's the next step. So what are some of the things that you do? Number one is the communication that you talked about in terms of your selling. But I say you have to communicate your feelings. Like you talked to me about why going to this thing called speaking after you've been through singing and got fired and placed by a karaoke machine, why this was essential for you to grow. Because you paid the mortgage note and I paid the health insurance and all the other things. So you always kept your word to me.
Trust. When I said I'm going to make it happen, when I said to her, when we got married, if you live in my mama's house for a year, I promise you I'll buy you a house. 1 year from that day, we bought a house. I bought our house. We moved in our house. Or when I said to her, I'm going to take a year off from speaking and go back to school, get my doctorate. We'll make it work. We did.
Yes.
All right.
So number one, you got to communicate your feelings and what's actually going on inside of you because you did not marry a mind reader. Like I said, he was fired and replaced by a karaoke machine. It was a bumpy thing. For a minute, he was a wedding singer. And then it was something else at the church. What was that thing at the church that you were? You were some kind of... He was a choir director at the youth. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, you know what? We cannot pay the mortgage with chicken dinners on Sunday. That does not work. So we went through that. Oh my goodness. So conversations. Okay. Listen to their concerns about your new career choices. And I asked, so where's the money? How we going? What kind of money you get?
Where's the money? And then I learned to make that money and bring it home to her and put it in there. And she then took that money and she made it grow.
So it's working together. Because my question was, okay, you think you want to do that? How much you getting paid for that? But you know what? Getting paid to speak was more than getting
Come
paid
on.
to sing.
Woo!
And the level of respect was also very different, which is something that I learned.
That's a whole nother show.
And then number 3, get a plan that you can communicate with your spouse. So what did you do? When you said, okay, I'm going to do this speaking thing, and this is how I'm going to do it. The first thing, I'm going to go to this thing was it in Florida someplace? And I'm going to learn how they do it. Right?
How they make money on it. And I came back.
And then, but not only that, but while you were there, you would call me all the time. Oh, Dee, this is so wonderful. Oh, I listened to so-and-so. I can do this. You were very enthusiastic and kept me informed of all the things that you were learning, really, even though I didn't understand.
I remember going in the session, and I'm thinking I'm a big shot because I'm making $300 a speech. And I asked one of the guys who was leading the session, how much you make a speech? He said, 3. I said, yeah, I make $300. He said, $3,000. Oh, yeah. I said, I got some learning to do. All right.
Okay. Can you do it part-time? I thought about that because when I transitioned from Capitol Hill to working with you, I wasn't sure. I said, okay, I'll do it. But it took a minute.
Yeah.
It actually took a year.
Yeah.
Because I started off 1 day a week, then 2 days a week, and we gradually switched and to get the feel for, is this thing going to work? Okay. Then 4, you have to determine if you really need their support to execute your plan. Could you have done that? I'll say something.
Well, I think that's an important point to say, but I want you to determine that you really need their support to execute the plan. Not so much to execute the plan as to have the moral support.
I knew you were going to say that.
The moral support. The big thing was she wasn't working for me or working with me, but when I quit my job for the school system and became a speaker, I needed her moral support with my big dreams and my big goals. I needed her to say, you could do this.
I never said he couldn't do it.
You can do this.
When he hired the salesperson, he would call me at my job on Capitol Hill and say, could you explain to her that she can't say I can't do it?
That's right. She would say,
I remember that.
She'd say, you can't do that. You're too ambitious. I'd say, could you explain to her? Never say I can't do it. You always tell me I can do it. It's important to hear I can do it. Go ahead. You got 3 minutes.
Okay. Keep your spouse informed, which is what you did.
Yep.
You would constantly call me or just, even though I wasn't asking questions because I didn't know what to ask.
Right.
Your enthusiasm and everything made me say, okay, there's something going on here. And I'll be involved. And then if none of that works, you need to seek counseling.
Counseling.
Either couples counseling or individual counseling. If the 2 of you can't go together, it doesn't mean you can't go.
That's right.
You need to go.
Go get some counseling. Now, we are not counselors. We are mentors. We want to say it again. But some people call and say, well, can you do some marriage counseling? No, we don't do marriage counseling per se.
But you can walk alongside us and see what we've done.
But we can give you mentorship.
And everything.
We give you mentorship on what we've learned over these 36 years, why we don't argue, why we have a great marriage, why I still got the hots for her, why I'm bumping boots because I'm still hot for her.
Bumping boots.
Anyway, pushing, shoving, yelling, screaming, nagging won't work. So
you got to try that sweet talking thing.
It works. Get the book. Look, I want y'all to get 2 copies of the book. Go get it today. JolleyMarriage.com. JolleyMarriage.com. This book will change your marriage. You hear me? It will change your relationship. It will help your marriage heal.
Send in any questions.
And the same question to info@WillieJolley.com. Info. Go get the book at JolleyMarriage.com. Tell Lottie Dottie and everybody to join us next Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern time on A Jolley Marriage on Facebook, A Jolley Marriage on Instagram. Thank y'all for your time. Our time is up. Oh, one more thing. Would you send us information if you're interested by email in doing a seminar, a virtual seminar, me with the guys for half the day, she with the ladies for half the day, and then we come together?
Well, we don't know.
I just want to say if they're interested.
I'm interested in wives without their husbands seminar.
Right. Wives without their husbands, husbands without their wives.
That's all I'm saying.
And then they come together.
We're thinking about it.
We're thinking about it.
Questions that we get.
We get very sensitive questions.
That you're interested
like
in.
The brother asked me, what kind of stuff do you use? I said, ashwagandha. Keeps a brother strong.
Somebody said, interested.
All right, y'all said, that's Brother Ricky, our Hodges. Thank you so much. Kathy McMillan, everybody, thank y'all.
Tell everybody we're going to be here. We're building this. We want your help. We want your help. We want to reach millions. We need all of your help to get the word out. 9 o'clock, Monday nights. Make love, make money, make it last, the broadcast. Jolley out.
Thank you, guys.
Jolley out. Bye-bye.